You, apparently, are no exception.
I am the engine of life, the source of Nosgoth's very existence. I am the hub of the wheel, the origin of all life.
Hello, and welcome to another marvelous video. The Legacy of Kain series has enthralled gamers for many years due to its intricate storylines, dark and gothic setting, and morally complex characters. At the core of this complex tale resides the Elder God, an enigmatic being that defies the conventions of traditional video game villains. Its existence is ever-present, yet enshrouded in mystery, its impact shaping the fates of vampires and humans in the fictional world of Nosgoth. This video initiates a deep investigation into the character of the Elder God, unveiling the intricate layers that define its complexity within the Legacy of Kain universe. As we traverse the mysterious pathways of Nosgoth and unravel the intricacies of the Legacy of Kain series storyline, we invite you to join us on this intellectually stimulating journey. Stay with us until the end for the full experience. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Here and everywhere, now and always. I am the wheel and it's turning.
Who is the Elder God? The Elder God serves as the primary overarching adversary throughout the Legacy of Kain series. It takes on the form of a colossal cephalopod-like entity, often described as a mass of tentacles and eyes, possessing godlike abilities and a penchant for consuming the souls of the deceased. This character made its debut in Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, and made subsequent appearances in Soul Reaver 2 and Legacy of Kain, Defiance. While initially shrouded in mystery and acting as a cryptic benefactor and ally to Raziel, the Elder God's portrayal gradually turns darker as the series unfolds. By the end of Legacy of Kain, Defiance, it is commonly accepted that the Elder God is the driving force behind all the turmoil and battles spanning history. This firmly positions it as the pivotal antagonist shaping the entire series. The divine being is a massive subterranean creature that consumes the souls of sentient beings in Nosgoth, residing in the deepest crevices of the world. It refers to this consumption as its Wheel of Fate, a ceaseless loop involving birth, death, and rebirth. Let's take a look at how its story started. Origins and influence. The Elder God's cosmic role. In the history of Nosgoth, the ancients used to revere the Elder God, but the Hylden, another significant species, refused to be a part of this cycle. The Elder God harbors animosity towards individuals whose souls he cannot incorporate into his cosmic cycle. As a result, to eliminate the Hylden, the Elder God instigated a war between the two factions. Using the Pillars, the ancients banished the Hylden to the demon realm. In retaliation, the Hylden cursed the ancients, rendering them sterile, immortal, and driven by a predatory bloodlust, transforming them into vampires. Unable to include these vampires in its vital cycle, the Elder God disregarded them and turned his attention to humans. As new vampires ceased to be born, the ancients had to rely on humans to safeguard the Pillars. However, under the influence of the Elder God, Mobius and Mortanius led a rebellion against the vampires, sparking a war. In essence, the conflicts in Nosgoth, including the war between vampires and humans, can be traced back to the Elder God's desire to perpetuate his cosmic cycle. Mobius and the Elder God. Puppetry in Blood Omen. Before its introduction in Soul Reaver, the Elder God's influence was evident in Blood Omen, where Mobius operated under its directives. When Kain emerged as the Scion of Balance, Mobius manipulated him into an impossible dilemma at the game's conclusion: either annihilate the vampire race entirely, or condemn the Pillars and Nosgoth to inevitable destruction. This forced Kain into a challenging predicament, leading to his ongoing quest to discover a third alternative in subsequent games. Awakening in the Abyss. Meeting the Elder God in Soul Reaver. We encounter Elder God for the first time in Soul Reaver, when Raziel awakens after his descent into the Abyss, existing simultaneously within the spectral realm, where time held no relevance, and the material realm, where time followed a linear path. The Elder God had the unique ability to interact with other beings in a manner that defied chronological consistency. Its massive squid-like form, typically depicted submerged in underground waters, seemed to thrive and expand in correlation with Nosgoth's decline. In the events of Soul Reaver, its presence occupied the Lake of the Dead. When the vampire Raziel faced condemnation for evolving beyond his creator Kain, Kain commanded Torel and Duma and cast Raziel into the abyss located at the heart of the lake. Despite the passage of infinity and the destruction of his physical form by the plunge, Raziel persevered and awakened at the lake's bottom, now a ghostly entity dwelling in a spectral realm. The Elder God addressed him with familiarity, acknowledging and letting him know he was worthy. Although Raziel reacted dismayed at his own pitiful state, the Elder God rebuked him, asserting that it had merely saved him from an absolute end. As Raziel listened, the Elder God sermonically explained the concept of the Wheel of Fate, asserting that the existence of immortal vampires disrupted the balance of the world, preventing the souls of Nosgoth from fulfilling their destinies. For countless ages, the Elder God had been nourished by the souls of Nosgoth. However, Cain's vampire dynasty disrupted the Elder's source of sustenance. The self-proclaimed deity presented Raziel with a solution to his miserable existence. If Raziel returned to the material realm and obliterated his former vampire kin, including Cain, consuming their souls, he could seek vengeance against Cain. Intrigued and thirsting for revenge against his previous master, Raziel silently agreed to this pact, becoming the Elder's self-proclaimed angel of death, his soul reaver. From then on, the Elder and Raziel had a symbiotic relationship. Every time Raziel swallowed a soul, the Elder was likewise delighted. Throughout the game, he leads Raziel to different hiding spots of his fellow vampires. He aids Raziel in accepting his transformed state and the Wraith Blade, known as the Soul Reaver. At every stage, he stokes Raziel's rage by recounting tales of Cain's ruthless rule and depicting him as a plague upon the land. As Raziel follows Cain into the Chronoplast chamber at the game's conclusion, the Elder God warns him that he will be unable to maintain the Wraith after he passes through the time portal. Raziel ignores the warning and enters the portal, landing in Nosgoth's past. Quest for Identity, Raziel's search for purpose and freedom. At the beginning of Soul Reaver 2, Raziel encounters Mobius, learning that Mobius's true master is the Elder God. When Raziel declines to kill Cain at the Pillars, he descends to a chamber below and unexpectedly finds the Elder God there as well. The Elder God is displeased and cautions Raziel about refusing to eliminate Cain. Raziel scorns the Elder and declares his independence from the creature's control. He no longer cares for the Elder God's plans for his future. Despite the Elder God's attempts to manipulate Raziel by warning him about Cain's deceit and emphasizing his role as the harvester of souls, Raziel leaves as the Elder God, endeavors to incite his anger against Cain. Back within the Seraphan stronghold, Raziel once more declines to kill Cain. Upon traveling a century into the future, he discovers the Elder God flourishing beneath the collapsed pillars. The Elder God is once again furious at Raziel for sparing Cain. In response, Raziel questions the creature's motives, intrigued by why the Elder God thrives while the world crumbles around him. Raziel begins to test the Elder God's patience by pointing out the poetic irony in the Elder's parasitic hunger for vampire souls. Eventually, Raziel finds a way back into Nosgoth's past, approximately 5 centuries before the events in Blood Omen. Following Janos Audron's demise, Raziel revisits the chamber beneath the pillars to converse with the Elder. There he contemplates his origins and his genuine purpose. Raziel suspects that the Elder God did not create him, but merely observed when the Wraith awakened beneath the abyss. He sees himself as an indestructible and easily manipulated tool designed to be used against Cain. Leaving the chamber, he embarks on a quest to discover his true fate. In the conclusion of Soul Reaver 2, Cain rescues Raziel from imprisonment within the Reaver, yet Raziel's physical form cannot be sustained, causing him to slip into the spectral realm. The Deception of Worship, Ancients, Hilden, and the Elder God. In the beginning of Defiance, Raziel finds himself imprisoned in the spirit realm by the Elder God, who is determined to shatter the Wraith's resolve. Raziel endeavors to break free, but the furious Elder God closes all planar portals Raziel previously used to move between the material and spirit realms. Raziel devises an alternative method to regain his physical form by reanimating corpses, enabling his escape from the Elder God's clutches. During this escape, Raziel discovers he had been captive for 5 centuries in the underworld and is now arrived in the Age of Blood Omen. A few years after the Circle's killing, Cain met the Time Streamer while attempting to question Mobius in the caverns under the stronghold. Unbeknownst to Cain, Mobius was secretly observing Raziel's captivity in the underworld and seemingly communicating with the Elder through a shimmering pool. However, neither of them truly grasped the Elder's essence as Raziel did. The Elder attempted to starve Raziel of souls to break his will, but Raziel was convinced he was a greedy parasite and chose to endure the suffering rather than succumb to his demands. The Elder accused Raziel of cowardice, recognizing that his defiance stemmed from a fear of the Reef. By staying in the underworld, the Wraith may postpone his death eternal. Unable to reject this fact, Raziel feigned surrendering to his lord and was offered a soul in exchange. The Elder permitted him to progress through the underworld, but Raziel eventually attempted to flee in one of the area's towering caverns. Despite the Elder's efforts to stop him by conjuring lethal mist and shattering the chamber's structure with his limb, Raziel narrowly escaped the place. Upon emerging in the cemetery, Raziel discovered a planar portal enabling entry into the material realm, but the Elder God intervened, using his powers to retract all such portals in Nosgoth. This forced Raziel to inhabit corpses to escape the spirit world. His constraints were not entirely removed, only loosened. In the cemetery's courtyard, he was attacked by Archon, the Elder's agents, mindless hunters who subjected him to a horrifying vision of his master's ultimate designs for him. The Elder did not communicate with them again for a substantial period, but his influence on Raziel's fate persisted. Following this, the Elder God redirected his focus toward manipulating Cain, who happened to be in Nosgoth's path, approximately 5 centuries distant from Raziel. As Cain explored the Vampire Citadel, he discovered murals depicting the ancients worshipping a god who was, in fact, the Elder God himself. This worship became the root cause of the conflict between the Hylden and the ancients. It seemed the Elder God possibly manipulated the ancients, driving them into a war against the Hyldens due to the latter's refusal to accept the Elder God's philosophy. When the Hyldens cursed the ancients and transformed them into vampires, they liberated them from the Wheel of Fate, granting them immortality but trapping their souls within their bodies. Dissatisfied with these events and deprived of his precious soul, the Elder God abandoned the vampires and persuaded humanity to revolt against them. He used Mobius as his agent to ignite the fight between humans and vampires. When Cain encounters the Elder God in a concealed chamber within the Citadel, the Elder God disguises himself as Cain's former oracle. Cain remained oblivious to the Elder God's involvement with Raziel and followed the Elder's instructions, traveling to the future to confront Raziel. Before falling silent, the Elder urged Cain to prevent Raziel from acquiring the Heart of Darkness. Meanwhile, Raziel, exploring the Citadel's chambers in the Blood Omen era and facing the original Circle of Nine apparitions, began unraveling the mystery behind the extinction of the ancient vampires. In the distant past, the ancients had dutifully revered the Wheel of Fate and the unseen Elder God. The Hylden blood curse, which imposed sterility and immortality upon them, led the Elder to forsake them, driving them to madness and mass suicide. Raziel thought that the ancients, who were the most intelligent, powerful, and honorable race, had been misled by the words of that ancient parasite. Raziel's sacrifice and Cain's revelation, unraveling the Elder God's deceit. The Avernus catacombs revealed the Hylden perspective. The ancient vampires, who were God-possessed and righteous, initiated the Vampire-Hylden War, aiming to compel the Hylden, who historically opposed the Elder God and the Wheel of Fate, to adhere to their doctrine. While studying murals depicting the Hylden champion, Raziel was contacted by the Elder, who confirmed his suspicion that Raziel was this prophesied figure. Cain believed that he was both the scion of balance and the vampire champion, and both he and Raziel were aware that these champions were destined to inevitably destroy each other. Raziel and Cain confronted one another in Avernus Cathedral, as the Elder God planned, which resulted in Raziel cutting out Cain's heart and sending him to the demon realm. Despite this experience, Cain somehow survived. Raziel, upon his return to Vordor's mansion to revive Janos, with a mixed certainty that he might have fallen into his enemy's scheme again. Mobius was there, waiting. The Time Streamer taunted that death was never a bitter pill for a devout servant of the singular god. He revealed that neither he nor the Elder had ever been concerned about which champions they thought they were. What truly mattered to them was Cain's demise at Raziel's hands. We re-encounter the Elder God when he praises Raziel for fulfilling his destiny by defeating Cain. However, Raziel remains suspicious and enters the Vampire Citadel seeking answers. He observes the Elder concealing a Reaver forge with his tentacles and deduces its significance. Raziel's intuition proves right as he defeats the colossal tentacles and utilizes the Spirit Forge. This forge summons the souls of all balanced guardians for the final transformation of the Wraith Blade. However, shortly after this, Raziel is overpowered by a possessed Janos Audron and is banished to the Spirit Realm, where as always, the Elder God awaits him. The Elder God revived Mobius, who had recently died at the hands of a younger Cain, and summoned his servant back to the forge. During their conversation, they discussed the Hylden, whom Mobius regarded as a minor consequence, a small cost for Cain's demise, unaware that Cain had survived his ordeal in Avernus. However, their plans took an unexpected turn as Cain ambushed Mobius inside the Citadel and impaled him with the Reaver. Mobius' soul begged for mercy, but was interrupted by Raziel, who this time stabbed the ghost with the Wraith Blade. Raziel proceeded to consume Mobius' soul, erasing him from existence. The Elder God appeared unfazed by this act of defiance, confident that Raziel wouldn't sacrifice himself. However, realizing his true destiny, Raziel used Mobius' body to manifest in the material realm. In an altruistic gesture, Raziel sacrificed his own soul to purify the Soul Reaver and heal Cain. This act of redemption allowed Cain to finally see the mastermind behind all the deceit and manipulation. In the climax, the Elder God proclaims himself as the central force of the Wheel of Fate and the origin of life. However, Cain discerns his deceit and exposes him as a false deity. Armed with a purified Soul Reaver, Cain defeats the cunning creature and escapes, despite the Elder God's effort to bury him beneath the Citadel's ruins. Infuriated, the Elder God vows the extinction of the vampire race and asserts his intention to claim Cain's soul eventually. Unfazed by these futile threats, Cain ridicules him and leaves the Elder God imprisoned within the Citadel. Powers and traits of the Elder God. The Elder God's origins are veiled in mystery, known only to a select few in Nosgoth. His subtle influence permeates every corner of the land, as described by Raziel, who perceives him as a primal, angry, righteous, and ancient force. In Soul Reaver 2, his association with Mobius sparks suspicion in Raziel, leading to his rebellion. In response, the Elder God weaves a web of false, exaggerated narratives about his status, purpose, and power. Although the Elder God's divine status becomes increasingly uncertain in the series, he remains an immensely powerful being, described as somewhat timeless. He sees himself as omnipresent, existing in both the material and spectral realms simultaneously, engaging with others in a non-linear, chronologically unconventional manner. His strength is extraordinary, demonstrated by his ability to break through walls and floors using his tentacle, and he can even submerge the Spirit Forge underground. Additionally, he possesses telepathic abilities, enabling him to communicate mentally with Raziel regardless of their physical proximity, and converse with others through prophetic pools. The Elder God also manipulates the Wheel of Fate, the natural spiritual cycle of life and death in Nosgoth. Despite his claims of benevolence and being the source of all energy, he is in reality a parasitic entity. Somehow, he is connected with the Wheel, extracting souls to satisfy his insatiable hunger. His symbiotic agents provide him with energy by consuming souls, and he can resurrect the dead at his discretion, as long as their souls haven't already been consumed. Marvelous verdict. That brings us to the end of this video. In conclusion, the enigmatic character of the Elder God stands as a central and complex figure within the Legacy of Kain series. Despite its murky origins, its influence in Nosgoth is pervasive, shaping the destinies of vampires, humans, and Hilden alike. From its early manipulations of Mobius and Kain to its intricate interactions with Raziel, the Elder God's role in the complex web of fate is undeniable. Its representation as a multifaceted antagonist, linked with the destiny of the characters, adds to the series' continuing appeal, making it a gripping and intellectually demanding trip for both players and viewers. Feel free to use the comment box below if you want to add anything. If you like this video, do not forget to hit the like button and share this video with everyone you know. I'll see you in the next one.